The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today for our webinar on DocLink, Document Management for Sage ERP. If we can, just sit tight for one more minute. We're going to let a few more people make their way in, and then we will get started here in about 60 seconds. So hold tight, and we'll be right back with you. All right, everyone. I think we're good to get started. So before we begin, just going to go over a few housekeeping items. All of the lines are on mute except for us here, the presenters. And we'd like this to be an interactive webinar. So if there are any questions during the presentation, please use the questions box for those, and we'll be going over them at the end of the presentation. This is Kelly from BrainSell. I am the VP of the ERP practice here, and today we've invited Altec to show you their Sage endorsed solution, DocLink. The goal of the presentation today is to show you a more effective way to manage your everyday business processes by going paperless. DocLink is a document management and workflow solution that electronically captures documents and can help you leverage existing data in your Sage ERP software to automatically and accurately index documents. So with that in mind, I want to introduce Laura Lichien from Altec, who is the sales director for the Northeast region. Laura has over 15 years of experience in workflow and content management and is adept at equipping organizations with state-of-the-art tools and knowledge to successfully streamline business processes and drive down costs. So without further ado, Laura, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you again, everyone, for the opportunity to present DocLink to you folks today. So the idea is, we all live in a world where we have instant access to information, the luxury of it. Think about it. You could be across the world. You could be at the beach or at the golf course. Pull out your phone and able to access information. Show me, find me the nearest restaurant, or find me a recipe to how to make quiche. So why is it so challenging to able to have access to our own information within our organization? It's your document, it's your information, so you should have able to have better control of it. So this is where we talk about DocLink and how it can resolve some of the business challenges that we all face today. Okay, so ask yourself, are you, with your current process today, are you having to touch, documents and making copies and having to walk those documents around to able to get processed and review? Okay, and how long is it taking you to get something approved? Are you able to track and know who approved it and when it was approved? And of course, is your data entry. I will bet you have a staff, part-time or secretary, someone sitting there doing a lot of duplicate data entry when their time could be well spent doing more productive tasks. So if you say yes to any of these three questions here, then you definitely need to continue watching this presentation to learn how we can resolve some of those issues and help you be more efficient. But before that, let's first talk about how you are managing and processing your information today. Some of you are still using the file cabinets to store your files, okay? And of course, you know the challenge you're running into. You're running out of storage space. There's really no security to your documents. And God forbid, if there is a disaster, those documents are destroyed. They're gone. Now, however, some of you are you have those big multifunction device. You know those big printer, scanner, copier in one, where you're being proactive and you're scanning documents and you're putting on your network share folder. That's great. That's document management, and you're going paperless. However, over time, you're going to be storing more and more documents into your network share folder. And so therefore, you're going to be running into a searching issue. Unless you're the person who stored the documents away, other people are going to have challenging time finding those documents. And to find those documents, you're going to have to browse through the folders, the subfolders, the sub-subfolders, and so on. And what if you happen to, you weren't paying attention and you stored the document into the wrong client folder, the wrong vendor folders? Well, there you will not be able to find it. And of course, you can do the good old Microsoft find, but because you're going to store more and more data into your network drive, it's going to take you a long time to find those files. And of course, then there's security. How do I restrict Kelly from accessing, let's say, the COM 1100 group assignment folder and have her access only certain documents within that folders? I know that document was there last week, or that folder was there last month, and somehow it magically disappeared. It's because we're happy mouse clicker. We accidentally move things or delete things all the time. That's another issue that you run into when you store documents into a network share folder. Then you have your in-house software applications that probably might have some kind of document management solution included, but in most cases, you're only accessing document associated with that application use. And typically, it's just a link to the document, and the document is still on your network share folder somewhere. So then you're back to the security issue, of people going into that network share folder and deleting things or moving things. So this is where DocLink come in play, okay? And this is why Sage partner with Allcheck for a full integrated document management solution. You have heard the term document management. There's record management, and then there's also content management. Well, DocLink, we're all of that. It's all depending on how you want to use the system. Some of you might be running out of storage space. Maybe you're moving to another office, a big office, and you don't want to have to, waste your staff time of packing those file cabinets, or the cost of having those file cabinets into the new office. So you just want a standalone system for the storage and retrieval of your document. That's it. That's really document management. Having your data secure in a database and having it searchable. Then there's also documents that you need to track the life cycle of. Take an example, your contracts. You need to be able to track when it expires so that you can renew that contract, or track the retention schedule or period of those contracts. So that way when the retention period is up, you can purge and delete those documents so for compliancy purpose. Okay. Your invoice. Many documents within your organization, you need to be able to track the retention period of those. Well, DocLink can be used in that manner as well. That's what we call record management, the ability to track the life cycle of documents. Okay? So that way, when the expiration date is about up or the retention date is about up, we can actually send you automatic alert to tell you, hey, Mark, here's a list of contracts that's going to expire 3 months from now. That way you can be proactive and get those renewed instead of waiting or not knowing that's going to expire. But then there's also live working documents. Take example your AP invoices, the vendor invoices. They're coming in. It needs to be routed around for review and approval and action to take upon before you get paid, before you can get it paid, right? So we have the workflow components. And the purpose of workflow is that it'll electronically route your documents around for review and approval. It gives you visibility to the document so you know exactly where it's at, who's working on it, how long it's going to take before it's completed. And a full audit trail. Wouldn't it be nice to go and say and see who approved off on that $10,000 invoice 2 years ago? Then we also have, automated delivery method as well, where document that you are generating in-house, that you need to get it out to the customers or to the vendors or maybe to the employee that works off-site. We're going to talk about that as well today. And then there's also electronic forms. There are a lot of documents that you are generating in-house. It might be still on a good old piece of paper. It might be an Excel spreadsheet. It might be in a Word file and so on. Okay, we're going to be able to give you the ability to create those forms electronically and to reduce the data entry. So DocLink can be used as a full content management system. Now, let's talk about the integration with Sage and why it's such a benefit for you. First of all, just note that DocLink is the only solution today that is fully integrated with Sage when it comes to enterprise document management system. And the benefit to the integration with we are integrated with all of the Sage ERP, including Intact. Okay, so you have a lot of your customers and vendor information in Sage. Okay, so the idea is when a document comes in and you store it into DocLink, your central electronic file cabinet, DocLink is going to look into Sage for that customer information or vendor information. We're going to pull that data over to DocLink, tying that information to the document to help minimize data entry. Additionally, is that we're going to also have the ability to push data over to Sage as well. So think of DocLink as a central repository of information. We can pull data in and we can push data out. Additionally, is you now have two places where you're going to be able to access your document. For those of you who are used to using Sage or Intact, you can access all your documents within those ERP. But you probably have a lot of staff that don't have access to the ERP. So they are going to search the document through DocLink. So now you have searching flexibility, two places to search for your information. Also, with a full integration with Sage, and being that we are a Sage-only Alliance partner, you can upgrade Sage ERP at any time or DocLink at any time, and rest assured that the compatibility, the integration are always intact. Because before Sage sent out a new release, or before DocLink send out a new release, an update, we make sure that the two systems are compatible. So that way you're not going to run into any issues. Yes, there are a lot of product document management solutions out there. And yes, they are going to tell you that they can integrate with Sage. However, watch out, because they neglect to tell you that it's through a process called screen scraping. It's kind of like integration at the surface. Okay? So when you upgrade your Sage application or the document management system, the integration gets broken. So you as a customer will have to pay to redo that integration. So it could be very costly for you. And this is why sometimes you wonder, your peers out there, you wonder, why are they running on such an old version? It's probably that they don't have the budget to redo that integration, so that's why they're not upgrading. So something to think to watch out for. Okay. So why? Why do you want to go paperless? One of the many reasons is disaster preparedness. Okay. We live in a world today. I mean, in the news you hear all the time, there's an earthquake going on, there's a fire, there's a volcano eruption, there's hurricane coming. Like, for example, in New York, there was just a tornado on, I want to say about a month ago or so. We're very rare, unusual, right? But it did happen, okay? So I encourage you, be proactive. Look for, be disaster preparedness, so that if something does happen to your document, just know that if you go paperless, and in using document management, all your data is going to be stored on the server and backup will be done. So if something does happen, we're going to be able to restore that information. Take an example, one of our customer, management property in the Midwest, they're in a tornado zone, so they know they get hit with tornado every year. So they went paperless and used DocLink, and unfortunately, it was the only department at the time that went paperless. Well, they got hit by a tornado, and all their HR department, other department, lost all their documents, got damaged, except for the accounting department, because we were able to restore their data from backup. Many of the companies are expanding and growing. We're acquiring additional business, which is awesome, okay? But when you're growing and expanding, that means you're going to have to add additional headcount to accommodate the growth. By going paperless, by using workflow to streamline your business process, okay, we're going to take away a lot of those mundane work, like the duplicate data entry, saving you a lot of searching time, and time of filing documents and so on. So we're going to help your staff be more productive. Therefore, they're going to be able to take on additional workload, and therefore, you don't have to hire additional staff to accommodate the growth. And therefore, it's savings for you, annual savings that you'll be, for every year. This is just an example of ROIs, for going paperless. And there's many other advantages that we're going to discuss throughout the presentation. So let's move forward now. As I mentioned, DocLink is an enterprise content management system, okay? So what does that mean? It means that we can take your whole company-wide paperless. But I'm going to be honest with you. The challenge is people are used to their paper. It's hard for for people to accept new technology, right? And getting rid of those paper. So the idea is just let's walk before we run. So many customers will typically start going paperless and workflow automation in the accounting side of the house, especially the accounts payable, because that's one of your most trouble spots. I hear every day, we can't get the invoice approved on time because Kelly's always traveling and she's on the road, and she won't approve off on the invoice until she actually sees the invoice. Therefore, we have to wait till she gets back to the office, okay? Or we can't track where the invoice at in the approval process. Or our staff is spending a lot of time doing, data entry. So what does that mean? It means that you're going to be delay in payment. You're going to get, have to pay penalty fee, or not able to take advantage of early pay discount. Or what about when there's an audit? Spending your accounting staff time, precious time, having to find those documents to meet the audit, and then having to refile those documents. So here I'm going to give you some examples of a little snippet into how the system can be used within some of the example business units. However, at the end, we're going to give you a live demonstration, and specifically on the accounts payable side of the house. So I'm not going to spend too much time on the accounts payable, but I want to point out some of the highlights for you, okay? So the idea, folks, get your vendors to email the invoices to you, okay? Because if they email it to you, tell them that the invoice gets to you faster, that means they get paid faster. They don't have to waste money on stamp and stuffing envelope and printing and so on. The benefit for you is that all invoices are generate some kind of ERP software. So if they email it to you, you're going to get the first generation copy, okay? So what we're going to do is we have the ability to monitor your email server for a specific email address. So anytime the vendor email invoices to you, we're going to grab those invoices automatically, and we're going to store it into DocLink. Now we can even further automate so that we have OCR technology. So when we grab those invoices, we can read the data on the invoice, bring it into the system. We can even do automated matching as well, against the invoice, against the purchase order and your receiving, so that AP, you don't have to do the manual matching. At the end of the day is we're going to grab those invoices, we're going to store to DocLink. And then this is where workflow takes over. So depending on your rules, we're going to demonstrate workflow for you later on, it's going to route it to the appropriate approver. Now the question is, well, Kelly, who's traveling all the time, she's in Europe right now. How does she know that there's invoice to be approved? Well, she will get an email notification. She can approve off by email. She can approve off from a mobile app. She can approve off from the web as well. So there's many different methods of able to view those documents and approve off on those documents from anywhere. Okay. So here's an example. We send out email notification. Attach that email. We can attach the documents with it, so that way you can just open it up, look at it, and directly from the email you can approve or reject directly from email. And then once you click approve or reject, it actually log in our audit log of who approved it and when. Okay. So from there, it goes off. And if you're going on vacation for a couple of weeks, you don't have to worry, because you can delegate your work to other staff. So you don't have to stress out that, oh my God, when I get back, I'm going to have a whole bunch of these invoices going to be overdue, so I got to make sure I process them really fast, right? So yes, you can delegate your work, your tasks to other staff during your absence. Another way of going paperless. People are used to writing on the document. Well, we have annotation tools. You can add sticky notes. There's a note box area. You can highlight. You can draw, redaction confidential information. I already mentioned we have a full audit log that tracks all the approval, but you want to see the actual approval on the document itself. We have approval stamp that you can place. So based on your login, the date and time that when you approved it, it placed a permanent stamp on the document. Okay. So that's a little bit about the workflow. Okay. Now, the key is once you own workflow, you can use it for the routing and approval of any types of documents. In this example here, I'm using is AP invoice. But what about approval of expense report, approval of a new vendors that's going to be working with you, approval of a contract that's getting processed, or approval of a vacation request, on and on and on. Any types of document that you need to be routed for approval and action taken upon, you can use DocLink workflow. Okay, and now, so we're going to show you a demonstration of the integration with Sage and how we can pass data back and forth and the coding and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, just know that when you process the payment in Sage, we have an earn feature, okay, that can capture an image of that payment along with all the data about that payment. We're going to store it to DocLink, okay, and we're going to link this one payment to all those associated invoices. So that way, when I call up, hey, Kelly, I sent you an invoice 2 months ago. I haven't received payments yet, so what's going on? Kelly, who don't have access to the ERP, can just go into DocLink, type in an invoice number. If it's been paid, Kelly will see the payment number. Kelly will see a payment date. And if Kelly has permission, Kelly can see a copy of that payment. And if she has further permission, she can email me out a copy of that payment. Okay. So we're going to demonstrate that for you. But like I said, we can capture any types of document that you generate in the ERP software or in any of your in-house software applications, like your HR application, okay? If you generate, or even payroll, if you create payroll, we can capture an image of your paycheck stub and store it into the employee file. All right. So I mentioned that you can access the document in Sage, and we're going to show you that in a live demonstration. But I wanted to take your attention to the searching capability in DocLink, okay? Imagine you can go in and say, hey, DocLink, find for me all the documents within all my companies, okay? You may have 1, you may have 100, we don't care. For all my company, anytime for vendor name Alltech, okay? And it will find everything. Or you can filter it down. Find for me only the AP invoice within my Fabricon company for specific invoice number. We can do wildcard search. We can do relational search. In other words, show me all the invoice that we paid on a specific date, maybe last month or last year. We can also do full text searching. Imagine going in and saying, hey, DocLink, find me all the document within the company anytime the word DocLink is mentioned anywhere on a page, on a document. That's full text searching. I know in accounting you don't need that feature, but imagine when you expand the system to other departments like HR and contracts and project files and marketing and sales and all, okay, it's able to go in and perform full text keyword searching. Okay, so for right now, I'm going to search for an invoice number. Here we have one invoice based on that invoice number, and here's all the information about the invoice, and if it's been paid, you will see a check number. I can even go deeper than that. Maybe I want to say, hey, show me all the documents associated with this purchase order number. I just click on it, and the system now will bring up all the documents associated with that purchase order number. I can now select them all with a simple click. It will now display all those documents on the same screen for me on a tile format or thumbnail format. The idea, folks, is we want you to get this document stored into the system from the get-go, okay? So if you folks create purchase order, we're going to capture an image of that purchase order from your application. We're going to store that into DocLink right away. You don't need to print. You don't need to scan. We're going to do that automatically for you. So now when you receive your goods and you're doing your receiving, you can, store those packing stuff into the system, and those get linked to the purchase order. And then when the invoice comes in, AP will store that into DocLink, and that get linked to all those other documents. And as I mentioned, our system can do automated matching for you, or you can do it on, the normal manual matching that you normally do, but let's do it the paperless way. And then finally, when you process the payment, a copy of the payment gets stored into the system, and that gets linked to all the associated documents. That way you have a complete history from beginning to end. Okay, so like I said, in our system, we don't care how much data you store into the system. It could be the whole congressional library. I have been doing document management for over 15 years. Okay, I have seen system that you can search before you go to lunch, and when you come back from lunch, it's still searching. So it kind of defeats the purpose. But with our system, is that you can store as much as you want as long as you meet our minimum requirements. Our system will literally find your documents in seconds. So yes, we have a construction company. Actually, it's now today they've stored over 4 million documents into DocLink. Okay, and they're still storing, and they do, like I said, they can access their document instantly. Okay. All right. I know we're ready. Let's move forward to what else can we help you with? Okay. Some of you have corporate company credit card. And AP, I know you're spending hours or maybe days, trying to reconsolidate your corporate credit card statement. Well, we can help with that. So what we can do is we can create a template of your bank statement, okay? All banks now offer the statement in CSV format. So all you have to do is log into DocLink, okay? Click on that import button right there and navigate and find your bank statement, the CSV file, okay? And then once you upload into the system, notice here I have charges for Robert, Diana, and Benjamin. All you have to do now, just click on Create. Once you click Create, the system will create a separate statement per each cardholder with their itemized charges. And AP staff, you can do your GL coding because we're connected directly to Sage. So it's GL master file. So you can do coding. And then now you can use workflow to route it to the cardholder to verify the charges, and they can even append their receipt for each transaction. And then now we have the ability with the integration with Sage, we're going to push all this data over to Sage so you don't have to do duplicate data entry, and we're going to demonstrate that for you, okay? Again, because we're not sure of who's attending the presentation today, I just want to make sure that you understand that we can help in other areas as well. If your company do a lot of sales order processing and AR invoicing, okay, some of the challenges that you're running into is tracking to know where the order is at. When are we supposed to send out the invoice to the customer? So how can we help? So the idea is let's say you start by the process by creating a quote for your customer. Well, when you create a quote, we're going to capture an image of that quote along with all the data about that quote into DocLink, your electronic file cabinet. So now when Mr. Customer sends you the purchase orders or the contract or the order request, you store that into DocLink, and that gets linked to the quote. And now you go into Sage or Interact to create the sales order, okay, to create the ticket or the delivery, the packing slip, and so on. The ERP software can add a barcode to those documents. Okay, the barcode probably will represent a sales order number. So now you pick the goods, you process the goods, you deliver the good, Mr. Customer signed that delivery ticket or the packing slip. You now can batch scan those signed delivery ticket and pick ticket or packing slip into the system. Our system will read the barcode and know which sales order is for. Then we're going to look into Sage or Intact for that sales order information and pull it over to DocLink and tie that information to the document. So that way you don't have to do data entry. And then our workflow will notify AR to invoice if you invoice after you render the goods or services, okay? So AR, go into the ERP and process the AR invoice. You're probably going to be printing it out, mailing it out, or you have to open up an email, type in their email address, and drag and drop the invoice in. Or maybe they want a copy of the signed delivery ticket, so now you have to go and find it and scan it and attach it. It's a lot of work, okay? Well, we're going to eliminate that work for you because AR staff, all you have to do is generate the AR invoice, okay, in your ERP. What we're going to do is we're going to capture an image of that AR invoice. We're going to store it to the file cabinet. But at the same time, we're going to automatically email the invoice out to your customer for you. And if your customer wants to see the signed delivery ticket or the quote or the contract or purchase order, DocLink is going to go into the system, look for that signed delivery ticket, and automatically attach it to the invoice and then automatically email it out for you. So at the end of the day, all you have to do is to create the AR invoice, and that's it. We will do the rest. In that email, you will have the invoice, the signed delivery ticket, maybe the purchase order. Okay, you didn't have, other than creating the AR invoice, you didn't have to do anything else. So this is the use of our distribution tool. Once you own this tool, you can use it for the auto distribution of any types of documents. So folks, if you're creating purchase order, we can automatically send it out to your vendor for you. If you create, let's say, order acknowledgement, we can the distribution tool can automatically send out to your customer for you. Okay. Many ways of using that tool. So by using our distribution tools, customer like this, government agencies, they don't have to waste money on stamp anymore. Every year, folks, just on postage alone, they save $11,000. This is excluding the paper, the toner, the printing, the staff time of stuffing envelope. Isn't that a great ROI right there? Okay. So for those of you who are sitting in the presentation today that are in the, the CFO, okay, your concern is, of course, is driving down costs and making sure you're compliant and, getting a good ROI on the solution. So you probably are not aware, but your staff is spending every day, okay, $20 of staff time just to file documents. And to find documents, you're spending $120 just of staff time just to go and search for the documents. And if you can find the document, and if you cannot, you need to reproduce that document. And so that's $220 just of staff to just recreate that document. It's a soft cost that you don't realize that you're paying every day. Okay, this is actually a research done by the PricewaterhouseCoopers. Okay, so they're real numbers. Okay, so in understanding your ROI is to understand how expensive it is for you to store your documents today. Either from offsite storage to those file cabinets that is in your office today, the square footage that you're paying per to store your files. And what about the cost of papers and toners and copiers and printing and so on? Okay, they are very, very costly. So, for example, for paper supply, okay, for 20 boxes of paper, with average cost of $35, it's annually paying is $420 a year annually. What about the cost for your copiers? Okay, this is just a conservative number, but $800 annually on just, of the copies, the contract, the maintenance costs, pretty much. Okay, file cabinets. I was just talking about the square footage that you're paying. Okay, and also time of reproducing documents annually, staff time, and offsite storage costs if you're using offsite storage. So annually, you're paying just for printing and storing of your document. Okay, is $11,000. So folks, if you're storing your document offsite, why? Why are you paying a company to store your files, manage your files, and search for your files? That cost can be eliminated immediately. Yes, we have this Midwest manufacturer. Before going paperless, they were paying $85,000 a year. Okay? That's more than paid for the docking system several times. You can have instant ROI. Okay? So, I mean, did you know that 60% of the organization pretty much get their return on the investment within 12 months, just on 12 months for being a paper-free environment. Okay, and 77% actually receives the ROI within 18 months. So it's very quick. Then after that, it's all the savings towards the company. What about audits? How much time are you spending staff time to find documents for the auditors, and then after that having to refile those documents? So we actually, a lot of our customers, they actually provide a login for the auditors, and the auditor will go into DocLink and do their own searching. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, then you can go in and search for them. Okay. So let's say, Lisa, your company been audited. I want for you to produce for me all the AP documents within all your companies, and those documents have to be within a certain year. So you submit your search criteria, and in literally seconds, folks, the system will bring up all the documents meeting that search criteria. You now can print it out, email it out, you can download those documents. And when we download, we can even include the DocLink, a light version of DocLink search engine with that download. So you download to a thumb drive, a CD or DVD. So that way when the auditor receives the thumb drive, they can go into that thumb drive and do DocLink search. Find for me the AP check anytime BrainSell pay a company called Sinclair. We actually have customers using this feature in their legal department. When they go to court, they will go, search for all the documents pertaining to the case, download it to a thumb drive, so their attorney at court is doing DocLink search while their opponent is shoving paper. We actually have a Sage customer. They're a public company, international company. And before going paperless, of course, being public, they get regular audit. In 1 year, they were asked to produce a whole bunch of documents, and they were not able to find them all, okay, because they have storage everywhere, So they were fined, folks. They were fined $100,000. Seriously, $100,000 for that one audit, okay? So the CFO, they were determined never to get penalized again. So they went out seeking a solution to manage all their files. They looked at several solutions, and they actually ended up with a different document management solution. But it turns out that solution wasn't able to, doesn't have the searching flexibility. So they ended up going with DocLink, and so after a decade now, they're still using DocLink, and they're expanding it company-wide and using it for expense report and other areas as well. But at the end of the day, because they've gone paperless, they were never penalized again, and they don't have to use their staff time to find files and having to restore those files. Okay? So raise of hands. How many of you here are still doing expense report in the good old Excel spreadsheet? Okay. If you're guilty of that, pay attention to this next portion here, because I use this feature day in and out. Because when I travel, I lose my receipt all the time. And when I lose my receipt, I don't get reimbursed. Well, I don't have that problem anymore. So what I do is when I travel, I pull out my mobile device. and then DocLink is on my mobile device. Notice here, I can search for my client file. I have access to my workflow inbox with a listing all documents waiting for my approval. I can capture documents, okay? So yes, we have customers that use the mobile app because they are in the service business. They go out, they do inspections. So when they go out, they do inspection site, they take photos. I have an insurance company. You know them. It's a famous insurance company. So when a customer submits a claim for accident, the inspector goes out in the field, take a picture of the damaged automobile through the mobile device. It gets uploaded into DocLink, and that picture gets linked to the claim. That's simple. For me, I take pictures of my receipt. I take a picture of my receipt. It automatically has the company I belong to, my name, the date and time. I just need to type in the dollar amount and the purpose of the expense. And then it gets uploaded into DocLink. And then when I'm ready, I go into DocLink. Our system will create an expense report with my itemized charges. And again, because we're integrated with Sage and Intact, GL coding is automatically gets done. The receipts attached. Now we use workflow to, and so my manager is always on the road, okay? He gets email notification with my expense report attached, and he can review it, approve it, and then we push all this data over to the ERP so AP can just process the payment. Before we have this capability, it takes me about 2 weeks to get my expense report submitted, get it approved, and get paid. Now, folks, seriously, I literally can submit my expense report, I can get it approved, and get paid on the same day. Okay. Also, let's now move on to HR. Remember, DocLink is an enterprise content management system. Because our system is designed for enterprise-wide use, our security has to be very tight and very granular. It can control the security down by the keystrokes. So yes, we can help you folks to comply with HIPAA requirements for securing your HR documents, your vital confidential employee files. We can help you streamline your onboarding process. We can help you track your employee certification, who's active, who's inactive, who's full-time, who's part-time, and so on, okay? So when you, for example, when you onboard new staff, there's a lot of action that has to be performed. Did someone, create a key? Did we in fact give them the employee handbook and so on? So our system will enforce that all those actions are performed and send you reminders so that to make sure you comply. And of course, all your employee files can be attached to that one employee. And if you're still having, let's say your employee application is still in hard piece of paper, we can create those electronically. So an example, let's say our company is going to hire you, Kelly, and we need for you to sign off on a drug test authorization form. Well, we can create that drug test form electronically in DocLink as a template. So DocLink can go into your HR database, pull over your first name, your last name, your mailing address, and so on, autofill the form, and then we can automatically email that form to Kelly, and our system will convert into TIFF or PDF format. So that way, Kelly, you can sign it, you can complete the rest of the data, send it back to us, and we can store that into your employee files. Just one area, another area how we help. There's so many other ways we can help you in HR, okay? And then finally, before we go into the live demonstration, contract management is another big buzzword. With DocLink, with our core system, we include document collaborations, check-in and check-out capability, okay? So for an example, I have a draft contract. It's in Word format. I'm going to store that into DocLink. Workflow now will notify my manager to take a look at that contract and make any necessary edits. So my manager will check that contract out. When he checks it out, the version control will lock that contract so no one else can work on that same contract. They can look at it, they just can't work on it. When my manager is done, he's going to check the contract in. When he checks it back in, the system will create version number 2, the date and time when it was worked on, and so on and so on. Finally, when you have the final contract, you email it out. Our system will convert that into TIFF or PDF format. The customer will sign that contract and send back the executed contract. You store that into DocLink. You now apply the expiration date of that contract, the retention date of that contract, so that way you can track the life cycle of the contracts. Okay. I can go on and on and on, but we're running out of time. So at the end of the day, like I said, we can help your whole company-wide go paperless. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to pass over the presenter. I'm going to pass this over to you, Mark.
And Laura, thank you so much. Mark, I just made you the presenter, but really quick, I just want to remind those folks that weren't here right at the beginning of our presentation that if you have any questions, I see a couple of you have your hands raised. If you have any questions, please put them in the questions box on the panel, the side panel here for GoToWebinar, and we will be sure to address those at the end of the presentation. So Laura, once again, thank you so much. That was great.
Excellent. Yes, thank you, Laura. Appreciate that. And yeah, good point there, Kelly. I was going to remind everybody, if you have any questions along the way, in your GoToMeeting chat panel box, question section, go ahead and please feel free to go ahead and type it in there. As Laura mentioned, my name is Mark Duranza. I'm one of the sales engineers here at Alltech, and I'm just going to show you a very high-level overview of how this applies into your accounts payable processing. Hopefully, everybody can see my screen now. If somebody, one of the staff can confirm. You folks can see my screen?
Looks great, Mark.
Perfect, thank you. And as you can see here, I have multiple workflow capabilities. I'm going to be focusing on our accounts payable. And when I go ahead and open that up, we have a couple of transactions that we have here. And I'm going to go straight into what we call our GL Smart Form. Our GL Smart Form is one of our integrations into the Sage system, and we are a Sage document endorsed document management system. As you can see here, I have an invoice, and I have my GL Smart Form here on the left-hand side, which is really the equivalent of what you're doing in your invoice data entry screen, as an example, within your Sage environment. From here, we have template capabilities, which will allow you to have recurring invoices that has the same values. We create templates for that, as well as we can go ahead and actually what we call create a stamp. Creating a stamp populates the information that we have for the GL capabilities. And as you can see here, we have lookups directly into the Sage environment, which makes it easier. You don't have to data enter any information. You can simply click and it'll go ahead and look at in this case, the Sage vendor master. From an accounts payable point of view, I'm just going to go ahead and add a GL coding line that we have here. And if you have your vendor master defaulted to a specific GL, it'll go ahead and populate that. So once again, we are repurposing the information that you have within your Sage master data. And I'm just going to go ahead and balance this out to 1800. If you have more, if you need more GL code lines, you can add it here. And obviously as well, it will go ahead and balance out the difference if you have any outstanding balances left from your GL coding. On the right-hand side here, we have the ability to do approvals and denials and also to add additional information notes on the transaction itself. But from this point, I'm going to go ahead and from an AP standpoint, go ahead and stamp this invoice, which will basically commit our GL coding into this transaction. And I'm going to go into the workflow capabilities of the system in itself. So the workflow capabilities, we could automate the routing of the transaction based on any information, data information on the GL distribution stamp. So it can be based on vendor or dollar amount approvals may be needed. In this case, I have it defaulted to my CFO. I can also ad hoc route it to anybody I'm able to within my organization if I'm allowed to. So I'm just going to go ahead and send this to our CFO for approval. And the next invoice would come up. Within the approval process itself, we have multiple ways of notifying the next person that will be approving. The most popular one is via email. We have the ability to go ahead and send approval summaries that is waiting in that person's queue, in this case, my CFO's queue, as well as we can go ahead and provide links directly to that transaction. So as you click on that, it'll take you directly to DocLink. Our more popular one via email, and this is via email, is being able to go ahead and review the transaction from the email transaction. So if I open up this invoice, we have a PDF attachment of the invoice in itself, as well as the GL distribution stamp. And simply our CFO here could go ahead and approve or deny from the email. Other methods would be through our web client as well as through DocLink Mobile. I know Laura touched up on mobile capabilities earlier, and that allows you can log into the mobile client, and it'll actually go ahead. You can approve and deny, same as I'm doing here through the DocLink Mobile client with additional or more details if need be. So from here, quick approval process, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into our integration. Within our integration itself, I'm going to go ahead and we have the transaction that we've been working on right here. And basically from here, it's ready to go into Sage. You could obviously provide annotations. You can see here the approvals and so on. I'm going to go ahead and just import this into Sage. But bear in mind that we do have the ability to go ahead and automatically send this directly into Sage as well as a background job. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And as we go ahead and do that, you'll see that it's successfully entered. We have invoice 39646. And to show you what that looks like within the Sage interface, I can go ahead and pull up our Sage transaction. And as you can see here, within our Sage AP invoice data entry screen, we have added a View Documents button, which will basically allow us to go ahead and review the information through Sage or through DocLink in itself. So in this case, if I go ahead and just try to view our latest transaction that we have added, I can select that, click on View Documents, and we'll see that my DocLink screen is now blinking. And now I can pull this specific transaction as well as the added details for this document from Sage and reviewing that within DocLink. So I'm just going to go ahead and just check another one out, and you'll see that I'm able to go ahead and pull those transactions. Once again, this is a very high level. At this point, I just want to show you a few more functions that we have within DocLink in itself. So as a Sage user, you can obviously access documents from Sage into DocLink. However, we also have the ability for non-Sage users to access those transactions within DocLink Smart Client. So I'm going to go ahead and just raise this up real quick. Within my advanced inquiry window, some of Laura's example here, what if we have a vendor inquiring about a specific transaction? We can go ahead and search for, in this case, I'm going to search for my check, and these are property values for my check. I can search on that, and let's just say that I have my check number 974 that I want to see here. As I hover over it, you'll see that I have a hyperlink that adds on to that. What basically that means is that I'm telling the system to go ahead and pull up any document within my DocLink system that has the check number 974 indexed into it. And as you can see here, I have my invoice as well as my check. I can go ahead and review both, open that up. And as you can see here, I have a view of my check right here. If I click on that, you'll see that I have some information here on the left-hand side, the index data of the check number. And if I click on my invoice, you'll see that they are now related based on that check number. And from here, if you need be, you can also email it directly from here to your vendor that's inquiring or what have you. Okay. And then lastly, what I wanted to show is the ability to search. So if I have a specific document type, let's just say it's a purchase order number, and I may know some values of the purchase order number, but I don't know all of it, I can go ahead and use wildcard searches, as you can see there. And when I click search, once again, it'll pop up. And based on that value, I can pull up related documents. In this case, I can pull up my purchase order, my packing slip, my AP invoice, and we can go ahead and view it as well. So there's a lot of things that we can do for searches, ease of capability, ease of use. And I believe I'm going to go ahead and turn this back to Kelly for now so we can have some time for a little bit of your question and answer portion. Kelly?
Great. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, don't go anywhere because we've got some questions here.
Excellent. I'm here.
Yeah. So just a quick one off the bat. I noticed in your demo that your processing an invoice wasn't originated by a purchase order. Some of our customers occasionally use them or use them very frequently. So does your workflow support other documents besides invoices? I mean, I see a purchase order right there, so.
Oh yes, definitely. As Laura said, the great thing about the abilities of DocLink is you buy the modules such as a workflow, and really you can put any process, document-driven, content-driven process into a workflow for approvals, notifications, and what have you.
Okay, great. And then, so how is DocLink accessed? Just to get back to basics here, is it remotely or is it on a mobile device?
Actually, it's all of the above. It's all of the above. You have the ability to access DocLink through the DocLink Smart Client, first and foremost. You have the ability to access it via web client, and we support web browsers from anywhere from Safari to Chrome to IE. And then you can also access it via mobile devices. So any iOS or Android devices, we have DocLink mobile capabilities that you have the same functionality that we've shown you within the Smart Client that you can do within the mobile as well.
Okay, great. And folks, just as a reminder, if you have questions, don't be shy. Please put them in the questions box on the side panel there. Now, Mark, in our organization, we ask the approvers to complete GL account codes, but our accounting people like to select the accounting company and vendor information. Can that coding be shared by both the accounting people and the people that are in charge of approving?
Absolutely, absolutely. The type of security that we have, it gets very granular to the field level that we can have people either assign the values necessary there, as well as maybe just view only the information, the GL coding as an example. So granularity of security gets very granular. And yes, we can have separation of duties as well.
Okay, awesome. Now, is DocLink, is it installed on its own server? Can it be installed on a server that's running other applications such as my Sage system, or if I'm running a different type of ERP, can it be run on that server as well?
Absolutely. DocLink is a SQL backend system, so if you have either your own SQL licensing already there or a SQL server farm, we can certainly reside in that server. And also, if you want us to be within your Sage environment, we can be there as well. The only thing that we ask is you do meet the minimum requirements, even when you're peak usage of your systems as well. So we will make sure we have enough resources so it doesn't slow the system down.
Okay, gotcha. And then as far as the acquisition of it and payment, is it a subscription? Is it in perpetuity? Can you give me a little bit of insight on that? Is it a monthly or an annual?
I believe that may be a Laura question.
Okay.
Laura, you still there? Okay, that I can answer.
No problem.
Yes, it's both actually. It's both. Okay. So there is a perpetual where you can go ahead and buy the software outright, and then basically all you have is the annual maintenance. There's also a subscription pricing capable. And yeah, we're sold through Sage, so we are in the Sage price book, and that's basically how we're going to go ahead and transact the payment and the acquisition of the software.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I think that's going to do it for us for now, folks. We are getting right to the top of the hour, so I want to thank you all who attended and for being here with us today, and I want to thank the team over at Alltech for doing such a great job in presenting the DocLink integrated document management system for us. Really appreciate your time and your great presentation here, guys. So thank you once again. Folks, please note I will be sending out a follow-up email with the recording file. So if you'd like to share it with your colleagues, feel free. And then I'll be following up as well just to answer any straggling questions that you might have. But that's going to do it for us today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and you'll be hearing from me soon.